Thank you very much, Control Room. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to Eco TV listeners. My name is Larry Sise, and with me is my colleague Lamin Mane. We are back on our usual Thursday podcast with Eco TV International. As we promised last week, we will devote today's program to the audit reports of 2021, 22, and 23. Although there are snippets of the audit reports for 2017, 18, 19, which were released while all this noise on the 2021 to 23 reports were being debated in the public domain. We have that as our only item today, but Lamin will give us a post-mortem on the welcoming of the party leader last Saturday. He was part of the organizing committee for that. Lamin, back to you.
Thank you very much, Larry, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all our listeners, wherever you might be listening to us from. It's a pleasure to be with you again, and thank you for welcoming us into your homes. Yes, last Saturday we had a very rousing welcome for Mr. Dabo on his return from the 8-country European tour. And he had a hectic 6 weeks, and he achieved a lot for the party and for the country. And it was a pleasure to welcome him back home to the Gambia in a very befitting way, to show him that we appreciate what he's been doing for the party and the country, and a way of showing him also our attachment to him, his policies, principles, and his leadership of the party. So we did organize that, particularly the youth wing, Haji Swane and his colleagues, Boubacar Kante, Basumaila Fadera, Binzi Senghor, Sibo Janke, Jaula, Brikama Jaula, my son, Boubacar Siddiq Jammeh, etc. I'm sorry I might forget some names, but it will be long if I want to give the whole list. These were the guys who were in the pilot seat. They steered that welcoming, and they did a fantastic job of it. And we were thrilled to have so many people come. Some people couldn't come because they couldn't even find transportation to come, because who came from very far away. Those in the greater Banjul area here, some people walked from their homes 5-10 kilometers away to the venue when they couldn't find transportation. And it was really good. It was so massive that Mr. Dabo was supposed to have addressed the press briefly at the airport, but there was so much desire to hear him. And people were so many around him that we couldn't even get him out of the car to give the statement. So we had to cancel the press statement at the airport and go to Pipeline. And seeing the amount of people all along the trajectory, the route rather, from, now that's coming to me in French, from the airport to Pipeline, seeing the number of people who thronged the roads, and the enthusiasm. Some of them stood out there for 6-8 hours. Some came at as early as 10 a.m., waited for him until 8-9 in the evening to just see him pass and wave to him, and the emotions were amazing. And that shows to anybody who ever doubted it, the love this country has for Ousainou Darboe. the respect and admiration, and the knowledge that this is the man who can take the country to where we want to see it, who can deliver the Gambia we want, who can give us the leadership we deserve, and who can put an end to corruption and mismanagement of our resources, as shown by the audit reports and everything. And that is why some of the people are so bent on keeping Ousainou Darboe out of this race, because they know that the man is not for bending, as Margaret Thatcher would say.
Yes.
The man is not for bending, and he is consistent, resilient. He is the epitome of what we want for a leader. Somebody who has the courage to lead from the front, but who has enough confidence in himself to empower the people around him so that they take the country where we need to see it go. That is the Ousainou Darboe we have. That's the Ousainou Darboe that the country loves. That is the man we welcome on Saturday. And that is the man we're going to take to the elections in 2026, hopefully with our allies and partners in the opposition. And I'm sure that will happen, to root Barrow out of State House and bring in a more virtuous administration that will take the country where we need to go. But this is a man who, after 6 weeks, touring 8 countries, where he had no rest, he barely slept 4 or 5 hours a day. He would have programs until about midnight. People will take him home and sit with him and chat with him. And he's the guy who wouldn't say, guys, I'm tired, I have to sleep now.
He'll never say that.
He would sit. He would sit with them. Some of the people in the different countries would call me and say, Lamine, I think you need to talk to Mr. Darboe. Tell him to tell people to go to bed sometimes so that he can also get some rest. He doesn't send anybody else. I said, that's a lost cause. He wouldn't do it. I said, just talk to the people and tell them he needs to get some rest too. He's been traveling for almost 6 weeks. But, but the enthusiasm people have for him, you also understand that they want to see him, they want to be with him, even though it's not reasonable because he needs to rest. We don't want to have him burn out before the elections. But yeah, so that was happening. But he would sit there with them all the time and discuss with them, give them his points of view, and they would exchange points of view. He was there like that. And the day he was leaving, after all that difficulty and after all of those long trips and flights and not resting, he left his hotel, I think about 4 in the morning, to go to the airport. So he traveled from 4 in the morning, got here at 2 p.m., and from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m.,
he was on his
feet from the airport. Let's say from 3 p.m., because he got here about 2 p.m. By the time we managed to leave the airport, it's about 3 p.m. But from 2 p.m., he was on his feet, because that's when they received him at the airport, at the foot of the aircraft. Went to the airport, and then went to his car, and he was on his feet virtually from 3 p.m. until 9 p.m. Because he couldn't sit in the car. People wanted to see him. They came all that distance, at very high cost. There was this old man who said, he had to sell his cock to be able to afford
some chickens.
Yeah, to be able to pay for his trip here. He went to work in somebody's farm, who, because he worked on his farm, would take him on his motorcycle to where he would catch a taxi. Yeah. And when he got to that point, the motorcycle driver didn't have any fuel. So he went back, sold a cock, and took that money to buy fuel, 2 liters of fuel, just to show this man had nothing. Yeah. But he was so keen on seeing his future president that he went to those extents and came here. And in fact, it was so moving that the youth wing organized something for him, and they collected some funds, some goodwill donors, and who gave him money to say, hey, thank you for what you did. But that is the UDP support base. That's how much love.
We are not being funded by millionaires.
No. We fund ourselves. Some people were taking advantage of us and taking for themselves the funding that we provide for the party. But UDP is self-funded by its militants in the country, by its diaspora members. So we don't have any corporate institutions behind us. We don't have any government funds coming to us. We do not accept public funds. We do not accept private funds from people who are going to want to dictate their laws to us. That is the UDP. So all of these people came. And we try to provide transportation. Some people come from very far away, URR, CRR, NBR, and part of LRR. But most of the time they say, if you don't have transport, don't worry, we'll make our own way. And most of the people who made their way came by their own means. There's no way we're going to fund all of those people. So we had that massive outpouring of sentiment for Ousainou Darboe, and that massive turnout. And when we got to Pipeline, it was like there was nobody left in the streets in the Gambia. Yeah. We could hardly get him to the podium to speak. And even when he spoke, people didn't want to leave to go home, you know? And he was there until about, we were there, we left the Pipeline about midnight, 31 o'clock in the morning. So this is a man who got up at 4 in the morning, didn't go to bed until about 3, 4 the following day, virtually 24 hours.
24 hours.
Because when I left, I was exhausted. I told him, look, you know, after his speech, I said, I'm going home now, I'm washed out. He smiled, and he went, people followed him inside the house. I don't know how long they stayed there, but I understood somewhere until about 2 in the morning. So which means by the time he had time to take a shower, do his prayers, and, you know, his wird as he does all the day, he probably went to bed again about 3, 4 in the morning. That is the strength and stamina that this man has. So anybody, you know, I keep saying it, I said I traveled with him and I saw how resilient he was, how strong he was, the stamina, and I wonder how, I even asked him once, what's your secret? He smiled and he said, multivitamins. I said, no, that must be some weird or something. But that's the man. This is the man who did 6 weeks of tour non-stop, came and spent 24 hours without sleeping, and you didn't see any sign of fatigue, irritation or frustration on his face. He was just smiling all the time.
Or even dozing off.
Or dozing off,
yeah.
You know, or signs of fatigue. None, nothing. So anybody who ever doubted that this man has the resilience and the capability to lead this country, there you had it for you into yourself.
Yeah. Resilience, capability, the stamina.
The stamina and the intellect.
Mental intellect.
The intellect, the mental resilience, the capacity, and the steadfastness. The being true to himself and to his principles. That is what scares these people who want to see him in State House, because they know that this man will run the country as it's supposed to be for all the Gambians, for everybody to get their rights in this country, for everybody to be able to benefit from what the citizenship of the Gambia confers on them. That is what they're scared of. And that is what we will ensure for this country. Come 5th of December 2026, we will make sure that Ousainou Darboe is the next president of the Gambia, so that we can salvage our country. Because at this point, that's what we are working for. How do we salvage our country from the crop of malfeasance, you know, we're seeing? And we have to salvage this country.
Which the audit reports
have been showing, exactly. The audit reports have been consistently showing the malfeasance going on in this country. And nobody is taking care of that. And you will come to that, you know, we'll lead on that in the audit reports and the findings, but this is what is happening in the country. And even those audit reports made it clear that they didn't capture all the wrongdoing. Yeah. They captured only part of it, and they're telling us that the government's records are not reliable, because what they found was what they saw, but there is much more to it than that. And that is part of the hidden debt and hidden malpractices that we've been talking about, which will only come to light once this government is replaced and we do the forensic audits. That is where we are as a country. And that is where Ousainou Darboe comes in, the hope for the Gambia. That is why so many people turned out to come and meet him, to greet him, to see him just for a fleeting period, 30 seconds to 1 minute, and he's past them. But they are willing to stand 8, 10 hours in that heart-burning sun just to see him and wave to him and shout his name, and then go back home happy we have seen our future president. We've shown him the love we have for him. We've shown him that we want him to lead this country and take us out of this mess. That's where we are. Okay. So Larry, it was really a pleasure seeing the Gambians turn out en masse to receive their future president, to show him that they trust him and they want him as the next president of the Gambia to deliver this country from the clutches of this maladministration, this government that is really ruining the country. They want to be rescued from this government, and Ousainou has promised them.
For this crowd, Lamin, the Gambia, the treasury is a milk cow.
Yeah, yeah.
The treasury is a milk cow.
Yeah, and you know, the interesting thing is Ousainou told them that. So once we get to power, we will fight corruption in this country. We will put the country back on track. We will recover the resources that have been looted from this country. He even reminded Barrow that the house is building on Atlantic Road, return it before it's too late, because you stole public land. Because you cannot legally assign that to yourself. It is prohibited by our laws. The laws of the country do not allow it. But you arrogated that power to yourself with your Minister of Lands, Ahmad Ba. You did that, but you've broken the law. And when the time comes, we will enforce the law. That land will be recovered. So all the money you're putting there, it's good for the country. Yeah, because it's money you took from the country, probably. You know, so
it's like taking with your right hand and giving it to your left hand, and then the left hand gives it back to you.
To the right hand and to the owner.
And to the owner.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Okay.
Good.
Thank you very much.
And just to close, I just want to say a big thank you to the youth wing particularly, and to all those who supported them in pulling this off.
The student wing.
Exactly, the student wing, the female youth wing.
Female youth wing,
you know,
all of them.
And the Keba Kafo and all members of the national executive and all the other members who were around the whole process. You know, people whose names it will be too long to cite, but they know themselves. And we say a big thank you to all of them. And particularly a big thank you to our security forces, the Gambia Police Force and all allied institutions, which came out and showed the Republican attitude that we wanted to see from them. They were very professional. They helped us to move this crowd without a hitch. And our security team, the UDP security team, was just amazing. Amazing. I wish I had another word. These guys stayed with the party leader from the airport to Pipeline, walking and jogging, walking and jogging. They didn't even take transport.
But it shows how fit
they are and how committed they are to the security of our party leader. They were there, and they worked very closely with the national security forces, the police and the allied forces. They worked seamlessly with our UDP security forces. This is the kind of collaboration we want to see. In fact, I understand one senior police officer said, UDP, they are loud, but they are law-abiding.
Yeah.
And that is us. Yes, we are loud when we talk about principles. We want the principles enforced. We want to have this country governed as a normal state with democratic rights, etc., and people's rights respected. We want that. If it's not happening, we'll be loud. We'll be loud to make it happen. But we abide by the law. And we wish everybody do the same, because it takes two to tango. If you abide by the law like the security forces did marvelously, it makes it easy for all of us to abide by the law and do the right thing. Because we do not condone chaos. We do not condone breaking of the law or lawlessness. We tell people, if you come into our midst and want to start chaos, you are not part of us. You are probably some agent provocateur who are planted amongst us to try to create chaos. If you do, we'll hand you over to the security forces. So our security guys were there. They just were vigilant. And everything went without a hitch. And the Gambian security forces did the job we expected of them, and they went beyond the call of duty. So those two, UDP security forces, Gambian National Security Forces, I say to you, I doff my hat to you all. So, and what do I say about the Gambian public who came out to see that? Because they did the whole thing.
And the media. The media
yes,
was there.
Thank you for reminding me that. Because the
quite
media,
strongly,
our strong partners, thank you for that, because they were there too, under this hot burning sun, at their own expense. They came there, they followed us right through to Pipeline and late. And most of these guys are very young people like we have here in Eco TV. I look at the Eco TV crew there, my heart melted, you know? Essentially young ladies and a few young guys. And they were there. And it's the same thing for all the TV stations, you know, for, maybe I should not name because I might forget some, but, you know, but that was it.
In general,
the media was there and has always been there. And the media is our partner. We say we cannot do anything in this country without the media. The media helps us to expose the wrongdoing. The media helps us to propose solutions to the country's issues so that everybody sees. So when people go to vote, they go to vote as informed citizens. And only the media can help us do that. That's the fourth estate. And that's what we expect from the media. And that the media has been doing amazingly well. And we say to them, bravo. Bravo for your steadfastness. Bravo for your patriotism. And for what you're doing for this country. Because without you, all the wrongdoing will be brushed under the carpet. So great job there too. you know.
And bravo to the balanced reporting of the event. They are reporting across the media houses.
Exactly.
The reporting was very balanced.
And again, this is what we want. Because when we get to power, we want to have the same kind of media, you know, keeping us, you know,
on our toes.
And keeping our feet to the fire. Because we are human beings, we are not angels, we can make mistakes, but if the media keeps scrutinizing, it will make it easier for us to correct whatever mistakes might have been made. And the difference between us and the Barrow regime would be that if we make mistakes, we will admit those mistakes, we will correct them, and we will work with the media. Because we are all partners in this development of this country. The media is a strong component. It's the fourth power. We talk about three powers, this is a fourth power, and that's the media. And only the media can help us do this.
That's why they call it the fourth estate.
Exactly, exactly. So thank you to all of you, and thank you to the Gambian public who came out massively to welcome their future president. I don't know what to say, just to say thank you. Thank you for everything.
Good.
Thank you to all the people who were there. Thank you, Larry.
The audit reports.
Yes, yes.
Let's get back to the serious business of the audit reports. 2021, 22, 23, and 24. But like I said, last week, in the middle of all the brouhaha, 17, 18, 19 were released.
Very good.
I just did a summary of them. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on those three. Our focus will be on 2021, 22, 23.
Yeah.
And then we'll find time to do 17, 18, and 19.
Yeah.
The Auditor General, as we all know, has been removed.
Yes.
And the matter is before the courts.
Right.
He has filed his motion, and I think the government has responded a few days ago. So we wait and see how that comes out. But the gist of what we are going to be talking about is mostly the malfeasance, the literal pilferage of our treasury by a handful of people who have hijacked our country and have literally captured it. Maybe hijacking is not the right way of describing it, but they have captured this thing. And when you look at how money is being dished out to certain individuals, you could actually rhetorically, based on these audit reports, you could rhetorically ask a question. Who are the 5 most closest business entities to the presidency and to the government of the NPP? 5 of them, they stand out. Let's ask that question. Who are these 5?
Yeah.
Let's see how people will read these reports and come out with them. Another thing that we are not going to touch on today is the forensic audit of the Ministry of Health. It has come out.
Yes.
And I saw the minister on Coffee Time on Tuesday telling us that there is no corruption in the ministry, that the allegations of health materials not being available are not true, and then literally threatening to say those who release information unauthorized will be dealt with.
Yeah, and now, if I may just chip in there quickly, this is the same minister who a few years ago went to National Assembly, told us that he was presiding over the most corrupt ministry in the history of this country, and that he is overwhelmed by the corruption in his ministry. And at the time we said, either you resign from that position, or you take the vigorous actions needed to correct that corruption. Yeah. Did he do that? I doubt it. And today he comes and tells us unabashedly that there's no corruption in his ministry. What did you do in the time? What did you do? Did you clean that corruption? It doesn't look so, because until recently, when the chairman of the board was fired because he pointed out, that was at the beginning of this year, end of last year, But he pointed out all the corruption that was taking place, and they were angry at him, and they said he was part of it all. They fired him, and they brought in a new management. That corruption is there, and it's continuing. So when he comes out and tells us his ministry is clean, give us a break.
Yeah, that segment is ready. Now we will do the segment on the audit reports for 2021, 22, and 23. Now, we all recall, viewers and ourselves in the studio, we all recall what the Accountant General's main conclusion was for the 2021, 22, and 23 audit reports. His main conclusion, and I'm quoting, his main conclusion is, quote, based on the Auditor General's professional opinion, the government of the Gambia's 2021, 22, 23 financial statements are unreliable and do not accurately present the central government's financial performance. Unreliable, do not accurately present the government's financial performance. I think this is, as we said in the previous program, this is hugely profound because the Auditor General generally does not sit in a corner and say, it's my opinion. Yeah. This opinion is based on documentary evidence that he has. And in some cases, these are forensic audits. So his opinion notwithstanding, the evidence supports his opinion. And the figures also that we are going to be revealing today will also support the notion that the information that the auditors were being given is unreliable and it's not accurate. He also made a statement to the effect that the audits were delayed because the Accountant General did not provide him the information he needed in order to conduct the audits. And that is why the audits were done late. And I think this is also profound because most of the malfeasance that we are going to be highlighting today needed to be reconciled by the Auditor General, by the Accountant General, so that the Auditor General can do his statutory function unhindered. Now, the famous, that's the opener. I want us to look at the issue of the discrepancies which the Auditor General has highlighted. The discrepancies were about 110 billion across the public accounts. These are discrepancies across all the public accounts. 110 billion discrepancy. Now, as we said, what is a discrepancy? In accounting reconciliation, reconciliation is the process that two sets of records, usually the balances of two accounts, which should be in agreement. And if they are not in agreement, it's a discrepancy. And this, again, in terms of the definition, discrepancies occur when there are differences between these records, which can arise from various sources. Now, there are four types of discrepancies in accounting, four types of errors in accounting. Data entry errors, errors of commission, errors of omission. I like that one. Errors in principle, errors of omission.
Exactly.
Now, for a layperson, this just opened my eyes, and I went and I looked at the various definitions, and it clicked. So we are talking about discrepancies of 110 billion, but that has to be juxtaposed with the losses that he has reported. And the losses combined estimate 107 billion in losses across the three accounting periods. 107 billion in losses. You have 111 billion in discrepancies, and you have 107 billion in losses. That's a total of about 200 plus billion dollars in losses to the Treasury. Some of the highlights of these losses include $50 million that the government gave to the government of Senegal as proceeds of seized timber.
Yeah, that
50 million was given to the government of Senegal. The aggregate losses in the state-owned enterprises, in the parastatals, is 1.45 billion. Now, there is 55.8 billion in uncleared balances. 55.8 billion in uncleared balances. There is 65 million missing. Those are the Accountant General's word. 65 million missing in 2023, 136 million missing in 2023 also. Now, the 65 million missing was in 2022.
Yeah.
And then the 136 million missing was in 2023. So, cumulatively, that comes to approximately 107 billion in losses. And you put the discrepancies that are there, the discrepancies of 110 billion, you have your 200 plus billion in losses accrued to the Treasury. Now, there is he flagged a $74.1 million that was reported by the government as an opening balance in 2023, but the Auditor General said this could be misstated. I underline these words because they have profound meanings. He says unreliable, not accurate. And now he's saying misstated. Figures that were given to him were misstated. The question then becomes, what are the real figures? He also pointed out that the discrepancy between cash balance and year-end cash balance was 6.1 billion. They like this 6.1 billion.
Yeah.
6.1 billion everywhere. The discrepancy between cash balance and the year-end cash balance was 6.1 billion. And it could be a misstatement. A misstated. A misstatement of the discrepancy, meaning the discrepancy could be much more than the 6.1 billion. There is a major item that he described as uncleared transit accounts. And this uncleared transit accounts, again, is 1.6 billion. And the 1.64 billion. The 1.6 billion was from 2019 to 2023, and the 664 million was also between 2019 and 2023. So the uncleared balances are 1.6 billion for that period. He also disclosed the famous accounts, 187 undisclosed accounts, which were opened and operated by the government. Gambia had only 20 to 25. So you can imagine what 187 accounts would be used for. He also highlighted an understatement of cash balance of 136.4 million Gambian dollars. Understatement of cash balance of 136.4 million. Payments amounting to 6.1 billion again. 6.1 billion and 3.1 billion for a total of 9.2 billion remain uncorrected for 2019, 2020, 2021. I saw something on social media to the effect that the Accountant General says they are doing a reconciliation, and the reconciled accounts will be made known to the public. Now, I want to conclude these things by highlighting two things during the period that these audit reports were released. One was that the IMF's fourth review was on, and they had a press conference. And in that press conference, the IMF calls on the Central Bank of the Gambia to prioritize its core mandate. Prioritize your core mandate. And some of these core mandates, I think the viewers already know, meaning managing our monetary policy and our currency. And in the management of the currency, they highlighted that the depreciation of the dollar is of concern to them. If it is a concern for the IMF, I think it should be a concern for Gambians. It also the World Bank also in the same week told us that they told the Gambia government to do two basic reforms. Reform number one is to reform its revenue spending. So now when you look at all these figures, you can see how the World Bank and the IMF are concerned about how we spend our money as a country, because the revenue spending has to deal with these huge amounts that cannot be accounted for yet. And it also indicated to the government that the government should manage its debt portfolio. I think officially the government says the debt portfolio is 111 billion, but in all the calculations that we have done, it's in the neighborhood of 130 billion, not just 111 billion. If they don't reform the revenue spending and managing the debt, there is a risk that the economy could be derailed. Yeah. This is what the World Bank and the IMF are saying. Now we keep saying World Bank, IMF, because the government literally is on facilities that the World Bank and the IMF provided. And when they come into town and make these statements, it's incumbent upon every Gambian to listen to that statement, because it is telling us how our government is managing our economy. Finally, Lamin, I will say that these audit reports and the revelations in them, these are tragedies of an epic proportion. Yeah. Especially when you look at how our agricultural sector is performing or not performing, the Ministry of Health in terms of health care for Gambians, the Ministry of Education. I would like to see the same forensic audit that was done on the Ministry of Health be done on the Ministries of Agriculture and Education, and even on the Central Bank, the Finance Ministry, and the Office of the President. Yeah. All of these things should be forensically audited, so that Gambians can know how these people are managing their affairs. Yeah. I will stop there.
Yeah, thank you very much, Larry. And what I would want to highlight, I wouldn't go into the figures which you've already covered so adeptly. I am going to talk about the problems we are going to face in this country in 2026 and beyond. When you look at what the government is saying, you absolutely know that there is misreporting to the Bretton Woods institutions. And this is where I would really like to call the attention of Bretton Woods institution. What happened in Senegal should not be allowed to happen here too. The misreporting, the hidden debt,
And the fallout from...
Yeah, it just went through the roof in Senegal. And it has hurt the reputation of the IMF itself. And this should not be allowed to happen here again. I have no doubt that the IMF is receiving wrong figures for 2025 during the ECF review. I'm sure a lot of misreporting happened. And they should be very vigilant in the figures they are given. This government is adept at just masking figures, misreporting, misinforming. They would make it look like it's a very rosy picture, which is not. The IMF knows that. That's why they asked them to stick to their core mandates, the central bank, the government, etc. This is why they are fighting the currency swap. And I'm sure the government is going to go around finding ways of misreporting that too. Because the Gambians should realize, for example, just that currency swap is a contingent liability of $5.5 billion. Add that to the debt. They're talking of 110. It's not 110, it's $130 billion. Add the contingent liability of the $75 million currency swap with Afrexim Bank. At today's rate of $73.5 to the dollar, that gives you $5.51 billion in contingent liability, which is going to be us. Because to all intents and purposes, the central bank has given sovereign guarantee to that loan. They tell you it's backed by revenue that's going to accrue from the road tax. It's not true. It's not true. Because to pay that back, they are paying it back on an annual amortization basis. And each year they will be paying coupons to the people who invested in that. Yeah. And it's going to cost us extremely high amounts of money. By the time we pay off this loan, the $75 billion that we took, which is $5.51 billion, we will be paying over $130 million to pay back this loan.
In terms of
because it's a loan to all intents and purposes. The swap is a loan.
It's a loan, yeah.
We take it at 15% interest. And our currency swap is remunerated about 5–6%. The coupons we pay, the amount we're going to pay, and all of that come together, we'll be paying nothing less than $130 million for this currency swap. But the government doesn't care. The Ministry of Finance doesn't care. The central bank doesn't care. They will accumulate this debt and give it to the next government. And remember, this 2026, a lot of the coupons and the bonds are going to come due. In 2026. A lot of them are going to come due. And extremely difficult to be able to finance all of that. They will try to roll it over. Some will be rolled over, but some will still have to pay. And if they roll it over, it is just going to increase accordingly the debt overhang, which they will all pass on to the next government. So they don't care. They destroy the country the way they like. Oh, let's just grab as much as we can and do what we can. The next government will handle that. The bad name goes to the next government. Yeah. That's what these people are doing to this country.
And when the economy crashes, it's the government that inherited all this
exactly, mess. All the mess. You know? So they are doing the damage and we're going to pass it on to the next government. So IMF, to all, I would say to the Bretton Woods institution, watch closely the figures they are giving you. There is definitely a lot of misrepresentation and misreporting going in there. One other thing we should bear in mind, given all of this fallout from the debt and from the bad city reports from the audit office, the adverse mentioning of government, all of that, it means that budget support this year would probably be inexistent, right? Last year we saw that budget support came in the last week of December 2024. And when it came, the first week of January, all of it was gone. Yeah. It was all spent in a week. And we're probably going to have the same thing this year. I don't think there'll be any budget support coming till the end of the year. And it's all going to come probably again at the last minute, last week of December, and first week of January, they will scramble and they will spend it all in a week. That's how bad this government is. How do you get all of that budget support and spend it in a week? In a week.
It's they just.
So that shows the amount of mismanagement and poor organization in this government. So that's going to happen again this year, probably, if they have any. They might even have any budget support, because all of this that's being reported, the countries are going to hold back, the institutions are going to hold back. Because why, and they should. The Gambians will suffer, but probably that's the best thing under the circumstances, so that they don't add to the dust shock we'll have to pay next year. And that probably will force them to scale back some of their expenditure. Final point, next year, election year, in most countries in the world, particularly in the developing world, budget support hardly comes during election year.
Yeah.
The donors want to see what is going to happen, who's going to be there, and who's going to get the money, and what they're going to do with it, so that they don't get the money and spend it on electioneering. So probably next year, again, there'll be no budget support until after the election, which is probably a good thing, again, because it means that the budget support for 2026 will probably be implemented by UDP. So let it come after the elections, when they are a lame duck government, and they would not be allowed to spend anything, because we would put a government be on close lockdown, so they don't go spending the money just like Macky did in Senegal in the last week of his spend as much as you like and run away with it. So after the elections in 2026, we're going to put the government in lockdown, so they don't go squandering and pilfering the rest of the resources that are there. So please, our development partners for 2026, budget support, hold on to it. These are some of the things we're going to say. But also, when you look at all of the poor management and the misappropriation, the pilfering of the resources that is being reported by the Auditor General's office, little wonder we are in the extended credit facility. Because the ECF, as I said last week or the week before, is just given when you have a protracted balance of payments difficulty in a country. So the ECF is nothing to boast about. It just shows how badly you're performing. And that is what corroborates the poor audit reports. The audit reports are showing the amount of mismanagement and embezzlement that took place in this country over that period. And the extended credit facility given by the IMF just proves that. It proves that we have done so badly that they have to come and bail us out with an extended credit facility. And even with that, we're still performing so poorly. They said, look, we cannot let you sink. For the sake of the Gambian people, we're going to give you an RSF, Resilience Sustainability Facility. So we give you that. The ECF, extended credit facility, for the medium term, about 5 years, 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years.
The RSF, the Resilience Sustainability Facility, is for the longer term, about 10 years. And that means that all of that debt also is going to be transferred to the next government, which will have to deal with all of that. So these people are digging the hole deeper and deeper for the Gambia. So by the time the transition happens, by the time the next government happens, there will be such a massive hole to fill that is going to be so difficult for the next government to work in the first 2 or 3 years, because you will have to manage that debt overhang and then still plan for the country to have the essential services. Fortunately, UDP, we have the skills and the expertise that it takes to be able to turn the country around. Because any other government that doesn't have the skills for that, you will become very quickly unpopular. Because you'll be blamed for all the wars of Israel that you didn't commit.
Yeah.
Done by this government, stacked up for you, and just thrown in your face, and you have to deal with it. This is what Gambia is facing. And these are the choices that the Gambians will have to make. Are we going to let this government continue to destroy the country, continue to stack up debt, continue to make us insolvent, continue to make us just irrelevant on the world scene? Or are we going to take the measures that are required, tough as they might be, get them out of the way, bring in a government that is going to be democratic, that's going to be principled, that's going to fight corruption and put this country back on track, that's going to implement very tough measures for the first 2 or 3 years to get the country back on track, but which at the same time would be safeguarding the poor in the country. The wrongdoers will have to pay for their malfeasance, but we will protect the poor, the weak, the vulnerable during that time. But we will implement tough policies to recover our stolen resources, to recover our stolen assets. And anywhere you look, that's what you see. The audit report, for example, 2021, shows the amount of money that was pilfered. You mentioned, for example, the timber sales. We saw the money that went into timber sales.
And that is just to the Senegalese government.
Yeah.
We don't know how much.
But not just the Senegalese government, but the people who were allowed to do that.
Yeah.
According to the audit reports, were Alaji Baniko Suso, Siso or Siso, I can't remember which one, and Jainar Enterprises, whoever that is. These were the people who were allowed to export the timber. And the money they were supposed to pay back to government, the money they were supposed to accrue to government, never accrued in full. The amounts that were supposed to be paid, I think there was something like $59 or $89 per container, etc. The amounts that were supposed to have been paid to government were over $430 million. Only $199 million was paid. Over $200 million just disappeared. Where to? The amounts that were paid to Senegal, why was that paid to Senegal? I don't see Senegal being involved in the destruction of its forests, because the timber that was exported from here came essentially from Senegal. The rosewood in Senegal was being destroyed, the forest, and the timber brought here. This is once in every now and then. You get the Senegalese authorities impounding trucks and imprisoning Gambian drivers who go there to bring that timber into the Gambia. It's illegal. It's illegal by international standards. CITES, the CITES Convention prohibits it. The Gambia is a party to the CITES Convention. Okay? The Senegalese government's laws prevent it. So when you break the rules in Senegal, of course they impound the vehicles and they arrest you, and we cry foul. And why do you cry foul? You went to violate Senegalese laws in Senegalese territory. And you destroy the Senegalese forest, and that destruction will affect us in the Gambia invariably, because it means low rainfall, it means altering of the environment. Look at the amount of heat we're facing in the country this year. That is from climate change. And climate change is the destruction of our natural habitats, our forest cover, our fauna, our flora rather, which is happening in the Gambia. They've destroyed almost virtually all the forests. The forest we have left is in LRR and parts of Nyomi, and a bit in URR. But North Bank is virtually, arid land is just savanna. And they're doing the same thing in Casamance. So of course the Senegalese authorities are trying to protect their forests. And when they arrest people who go to violate, we cry foul. Why do you cry foul? You violate the law. You ask for it. You made that bed, sleep in it. So I say to any Senegalese government, those who come to violate your laws to get the timber out, arrest them. Arrest them, because that is not right. Let's not destroy our countries and our flora. But these are all the wrong things that are happening. And why is the government getting involved in illegality? You know that that timber is stolen wood from Senegal in violation of all the international agreements. Instead of impounding it and giving it back to Senegal for part of it and see what you do with the rest, no, you export it to China and elsewhere to get money from it, and you do it through private people who keep most of the money.
And you report in your books that you've given the Senegalese government 50 million.
Which they returned to you.
This is why I highlighted it, because it is basically saying we are not in this illicit timber trade alone. The Senegalese government is complicit in it.
But the good thing is that the Senegalese government returned that money to them and say, use it for God knows what, saying we are not in this with you. You are doing illicit trade, we will not be party to it. Even Macky, with all his wrongdoing, at least refused that. So this is what you go through in this country. A government that gets itself involved in illegality. How do you explain that to anybody?
The other issue, aside from the $75 million currency swap, is the famous 100 million, then now $200 million that were given to 10 companies.
Yes.
On what basis did the central bank give 200 million to 10 companies? We know these companies. We're not going to name them, but we know them. We've named them before. The question is, why give them money from our strategic foreign exchange reserves to the tune of 200 million, and we don't know what the conditions are?
And if I can just interject there, 200 million plus a 75 million currency swap,
Yeah.
you are looking at $20 billion.
Analysis worth of
Because the
contingent.
200 million is about 14.6, 14.7 billion dollars. 14.7 plus the 5.5 from the currency swap, that's $20 billion is already in contingent debt, which is virtually sovereign guaranteed. And just going to add to our debt stock. So we already have a debt stock of about 130 billion today. If you add that contingent liability to it, we are looking at $150 billion is debt stock.
No, but it's more than that.
That is the known one.
You have the 75 million currency swap,
Yeah.
200 million given to 10 companies, and 50 million given to Jao.
Well, at least they said Ja will return that,
Yes,
so
but
we'll see.
For us, we have no evidence that, we have seen no evidence that they have. And if they have returned it, I say more power to Ja Oil.
Yeah.
But we need to know how much, because the announcement was some of it was returned. How much is some of it?
What we want to know in particular is how much did Ja Oil make out of that money? Because if you receive $5 million, even if you don't invest it, 50 million, invested on the money market for just 1 week or 1 month,
And
the amount of profit you'll be making from that is enormous. If you invest it for 3-6 months, you just don't need to do anything with it, just the profit.
Yeah.
You can collect and go do other things with it. So how much money did Ja Oil make from that? How much money did the Gambia government pay? They said nothing, said Ja paid for everything. We need to see the audits of that.
Yeah.
Okay? But also, in addition to that, the amount of money that was lent to the president's nephew from Megabank,
Yeah.
that's also guaranteed by the state.
By the state.
So that's also adds to the debt.
And I think
We're looking
that
at
was
close to $1.2, $1.3 billion.
And
Between
then
he's himself and the former GPMB.
yes, and then you give out 325 million to Amadou Sane and 325 million to the National Food Authority.
Yeah, I think it's 230.
236 million.
Yeah, exactly. So it's got almost 500 million. between two of
Almost
them.
500 million to those two
Two
again.
plus 900 million to Amadou Sane.
Yes.
We're looking at 1.4 billion.
4 billion.
Contingent
So
liability.
in order for the cost of food items to decrease, the 200 million is also intended to bring down the cost of food. The question is, the food prices haven't come down.
No. But the contingent liability has gone up.
The contingent liabilities have gone up.
Gosh.
And that needs to be reconciled. Finally, before we close, I came across an item which I thought for a majority Muslim country we need to highlight, and that is the Hajj account.
Yeah.
The Hajj account, $140,000 was withdrawn from this account, which was lodged with Eco Bank, without a letter, no receipts, and nothing. Just came in, a minister came in and just withdrew $140,000 from the Hajj account.
Okay.
Now, if they can steal from a Hajj account,
Hajj account, what will they not steal from?
what will they not steal for?
Yeah.
The amount is, for me, is not that important.
It's the principle.
The principle of it.
Yeah.
So nothing is sacred,
Yep.
nothing is sacrosanct. They will steal whatever they can steal.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, they will go to these platforms to deflect, to deny, to deflect, to attack, to insult. But all of that, Lamin, can be described in 2 words. These people like to gaslight. And they also like to grift. They are grifters.
Yeah.
There is no way you can describe them except to say, giving everything that the Auditor General has brought out, the denials, the attacks, the removal of the Auditor General, it's all part of the government's strategy of gaslighting, denying, and being the messengers being grifters for the status quo. I think we can...
Just to say that, and that is the most difficult part to swallow. A government that is supposed to look after a country and its citizens gets involved so blithely in pilfering the resources of that country and gets involved in allowing wrong activities which are killing our economy to go through, and nobody gets really appalled by it in that government. Neither the president, nor the Minister of Finance, nor the Minister of Justice, nor the police force. Why? Why are we allowing all of this wrongdoing to go ahead unhindered, unchecked? When you are entrusted with managing that country for its citizens, why do you allow all of these things to go through? Why do you allow all of this to go unreported and unchecked? The same thing with what is coming out of the sale of the Jammeh assets. We see all the wrongdoing. Some of it reported in the audit reports. Alpha Capital selling a house that belonged to Jammeh in Hagan Street, I think 73B or something like that, in Hagan Street, selling it to somebody, a Barry or a Jallo, for $6 million. And just immediately after that, the guy sells it for $12 million. Of course, something is wrong here, but you don't bother.
And the amount of money they paid that Alpha Capital?
Yes. From all reports, it looks like he's been paid over $100 million, on which he apparently has not paid any tax. But why give that amount of money to Alpha Capital to do a piece of work that the Accountant General's office can do? The Accountant General's office is a public office, paid to do that sort of thing. Why don't you empower the staff of the Accountant General's office to do that work? You save yourself $100 million. You save yourself probably a lot of the corruption. Why can't you do it?
But Lamin, there is a more fundamental issue there. The fact that there was an assets management recovery corporation established for just recovering these things.
Exactly.
And that one was sidelined. And this contract was given to a private individual at an exorbitant cost.
Exactly.
Speaks volumes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I think we can conclude all of these things by saying corruption is a national moral failure of staggering proportions.
Yes.
Corruption is a national moral failure of staggering proportions.
And it's a gross betrayal of the trust of the Gambian
people. Yes. These figures show the level and the extent of corruption, but it also shows the kind of moral failure that our public officials are demonstrating to us. Let's now do this in briefly a synopsis of it in the next segment for the local languages. Mbadi Mandinkol, Lamoy Ralu, Ntelam Koteke la Risise, Ning Gafnyoma Lamin Mane Nata Koteke, Ramso Ramsang, Nalka Kacha Menke, Beole Keka, Bin Nakacha Mudula Fulalti. Napati leader, Alajuzen Dabola Muruna, Kaboa La Tama, Bantala Banku Tamola. Aning audit report all many alonko nyin lokun sabo nano kono nyin karo be kono safe be fokan nga audit report all ngi jibe kule andu ngi jibe nyamem fanan man kutu koma so laftawo fulol al kachandila o fulol audit be lamin le bulala we alaji Usenu la welcome fonko ate nabe o fala suwoto fo ntebe audit report ol dronne mala li kaytanda alla ko nyeji bele ba folo la dame wala mu auditor general ko man sakunda e information o men diale kaytol men yitandal ako kaytola manke lanna kuti manke lanna fenti ako kaytol fanan man sakunda la kodo tembo itandala me alonka silala ako fanan accountant general tardeta le pruka kaytol di ala prase Mansakunda la accountol jibe ako walatinna audit reportol ning tardeta mba suti andi lalien mbadin ntol ngamen kasabino ning audit report sanji sabo kono 2021 22 23 Mansakunda fota kodo men na kono atata billion keme anim billion worowla wala mula totalot billion keme billion tang billion keme anim billion worowla billion keme anim billion worowla yo niyo billion keme nim billion worowlo fananta al hakilo bama ko nyin Mansakunda ko kodome a lonko contingent liability nying wala munti julol men ya lonko Mansakunda eta ntel be tola wallahi garanti nying kodo nying billion keme nin keme worowla ani wo liability wo julolu ani la lankanlu ne be kafu nyoma abita fo billion keme nin billion tang ntel ngawole je na be murla nanne ka fo ka maosi bari nama si memmu ibu kaw fanam fo mole iba fala nyele no amaosi bari ita fintila nan ka fo nye ko nyina mu kuoti me alon ko sa mutano lafta fanan ka itanda alla ko nyin audit reportol ye na hijilal la account o fanan jibe wo hijilal la account to iko modo e dola keme anin dola tannan wuli keme wuli tannan ayo bondi account o nyin kono aya samba amal letter di amam fe aduntale bank dron ya ta Eco Bank itata so lafta wo fintindila because al nyanta alonna ko nimang dino la kuotu je kodi kuola ka kodota dino bulu ite kutula je ite motula je fana isi mentu no je ila nyin banku nafulu tinyala yo ni wo bota je fana nafulo me a lonko audito general ye fintindi wallahi ni nge be faale a killing nsiti nyanja wala nankale ko billion kemelum anim billion worowla bari ni o fananta ya jiba keta nyame isa lonko nyul betulun kam wala banko ko dola katu ye kudole ke dola million taworowla nin lulu ka fome currency swap ka dola falling dala sola pour National Roads Authority silol dada wo bijel ye million nena nga faale fanan ko e million keme wala di company tan side na taje ko amanke million keme fulala ya di company tan wo million tawrolo ni lulu ani million keme fulo ni atata fo wuli million asiata jawke ata asiata I contingency liabilities I mean fonko nying currency swap 75 million tawrola nin lulu ani million keme flow me ya di nying company tan
ni fulo la nyoka kata
billion mo wo billion mo fanan to leba jola nal dingun jele entel niok ya baake because molu men benin jola tuma doba to wol mawulu folo
yes
so ning fale muketa Mansakunda membe nyim mol remplacer la doku wole be bul
doku
ba manke dokundinde and maybe toku ya fanam bijele because inyanta decisional mentala pour que banko tamanda nyanta tala nyamen tuman do ba ate darja la molbul bari ni men mawke fanam banko le be fella mbaade lumba mba adan damen wala mu International Monetary Fund IMF o bank ba membe Washington ye Gambia mansakunda yamari ko na Central Bank ye muru loi memfo ka inyanta doko kala nyame muru je ikana da ke nyin dollar million keme fula diola ninka contrat ko sign pour ka dollar falling dala sola enare ko nyanta o be bulala jeel ila do ko mumenti drom wala mu nyinti ko bankola munafa nyanta tamala nyame ka fo me monetary policy ye nyatilin wotola anin nyanta na kodo marala nyame because ko dala so kaji nyame wo jakal andu government nyanta ku kala jeel IMF fana ate lokum kilin kono World Bank fana ate lokum kilin kono ye mansa kunda yamari ko alka kodo domo nyame alka kodo spend nyame al nyanta jibe la ya fale andal ka julol fana menta al nyanta o fana jibe la le juluta fale nal mawke alla banko la munafa alba tinyala le faw ka fo me ko di relin di economy now ñing audit report olu IMF ye memfo World Bank ye memfo ntefe wol mu kuleti me alonko tubabol ka fo me ko hinante ya warta tragedy a hinante ya warta so much so that ibuka faham no fanko nyulbe tinyaro men bankoka finally ni a bejibe fengol men be kafinti ni audit report ol kon isa lonko corruption o mu kuleti me a lonko na bankobe maralim men bul i feltale ka banko mara nyama me alonko asinyanto nati banko ka tuwabol ko corruption is a national moral failure of staggering proportions inyanta banko la munafa mara la nyame banko la kodo mara la nyame na jaral dula karandula na agriculture ku kotengol inyanta marla nyame nyin corruption o ya itandi ko abuka marano andu bawo corruption o ya itandi ko abuka marano nya ntelta fem fo no la fo ka fo dra bala fa war a hinante ya soto balia fana war because ni hinante ya dunta ko wol kon wol do bije bukaf yo nyin dola keme wulikilin ni dola tannan $140,000 ye mem auditor le nyim fontel ma fod ye mem bondi haj account o nyinto account o me alon ko ka hijilal wol topoto wolto ye dola wulikilin wulikeme ani wulitannan ye wala bondi je ni ajembe nyim fenkela amount o nyinte principle o nyinam ni si kodo tano misil me kuwo kono sako hijo itatu la moy assalamu alaikum badi mandin ko
mbokay assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh maa ngi leen di nuyu di leen sargal yéen ñëpp di leen jox seen wàccuwaay ba mat sëkk dañ del si waat te itam alhamdulilah pour waxtaan ak yéen ci Gambia buñ buggal ñun ñëpp naka la ñoo def pour am Gambia boobu noonu te liñ fas yéene waxtaan ak yéen mooy li audit report si wax càmbaro nañ ko semaine bi li passé ñu ne nañ ci continuer waat tey te xam naa te sax duñ ko mën a jeexal waaye dinañ ci wax dara après teg si nañ leen wax tuuti itam ci Ousseynou Da ba mu ñibbisee ñu teral ko nañ ci waxtaan loolu tam dañ waxtaan ci loolu tam tuuti pour ñëpp xam li xew affaire yi audit reports yi liñ gis mooy audit reports yi woon nañ ne 2021 2022 ak 2023 ñetti at yooyu noonu nguuri Adama Barrow liñ def si suñu xaalis liñ luubal suñu xaalis jéggi na dayoo téeméer ak fukki junne yi millions yi dalasi lañ mun tax wax fan la dugga ma bamtuwaat ko téeméer ak fukki junne yi millions mooy 110 billion téeméer ak fukki billions yi dalasi waaye xam nga boo ne billion léegi dégg di ci jaawale billion ak million moo tax ma koy faram-fàcce téeméer ak fukki junne yi millions yi dalasi lañ luubal wala tos ñu ne xamuñ fan la jaar boo doon ko waxee ñu ne non loolu dafa ëpp because suñ soo seetee budget yi ñetti at motut loolu dara du ci dégg budget bi xam nañu ñaata la ci dee nekk waaye am na ñoo xam ne dekkuñ ci budget bi extra budget expenditure boo seetee rek li gars yi def ci currency swap dem aba dollars Afrexim Bank ñu ne indi leen suñu dollar juróom fukk ak non juróom-ñaari fukki millions yi dollars non juróom-ñaari fukk ak juróomi millions yi dollars la gars yi laajte woon lañ lépp Afrexim Bank indi ko fii wécci ko dalasi boobu nag la gars yi jël di ko liggéeyee yoon yi ñu ne soo li Afrexim Bank joxee li ñu leen lebal juróom-ñaar fukk ak juróomi millions yi dalasi yi ñu leen lebal ñu jël dollars yooyu noonu bi ñu ko wéccee dalasi delloo dollars yooyu noonu Afrexim Bank di ko liggéeyee ñun ñoom moom dollars yi parce que dañ ko leb ñu wécci ko am ci dalasi soo dollars yi ci ñun la war a des waaye déedéet gaa yi jël ko jébalaat ko Afrexim Bank ñu ne kaay ñu jox leen li ngeen liggéeyee ko soo ko liggéeyee ngeen feeñu ci interest xam nga ñaar la ñoo fay ci interest ñooñu 5% lañ ñoo fay interest te ñun bu ñu ko lebee ñun ñu ngee fay 15% fukk ak juróom ci téeméer bu nekk fukk ak juróom lañ cee teg waaye ñu jël xaalis boobu bi ñu lebal ñu jébalaat leen ko nekkoon leen fi mu nekk liggéeyee leen ko soo ko liggéeyee ngeen feeñu ñun téeméer bu nekk ñu jox ñu juróomi dërëm waaw ñuy fay fukk ak juróom xaalis bu ñu leb te ñoo ko moom parce que ñoo ko leb am ko nga delloo leen ko ne leen ngeen liggéeyee ko soo ko liggéeyee ngeen delloo ñu ngeen feeñu interest téeméer bu nekk ngeen feeñu juróomi dalasi soo ñun ñu ngee ñàkk foofu already ñun ñu ngee fay fukk ak juróom ñun ñoo fay juróom ok texte bi ñu ko wéccee ba pare itam doo di ko liggéeyee at bu nekk dinañ fay li ñuy wax coupon payments mu nekk daanaka at bu nekk dañ fay Afrexim Bank beneen interest bu ñëw ay coupon payments boo dajalee lu yëpp ci juróomi at yi ñu lebal xaalis boobu noonu juróom-ñaar fukk ak juróomi millions yi dollars yi ñuy leb ñun suñoo fay Afrexim Bank lu néew dinañ fay téeméer ak fanweeri millions yi dollars soo daanaka liñ leb juróom-ñaar fukk ak juróomi millions dollars bi yiñ leb ñun nañ ci teg lu néew juróom fukk ak juróomi millions yi dollars lañ cee teg ci juróomi at yi xam nga loolu xel mënu koo nangu waaye ci loolu lañ toll soo loolu dañ koo boole ci interest bi ci liñ leb soo ko jëlee ci dalasi mu ngi toll juróomi billion ak genn wàlla maanaam juróomi junne yi million ak juróom téeméeri million lañ war a fay ci bor boobu noonu te loolu boolewuñ ci juróom fukk ak juróom yi ñu ci war a teg pour li ñoo fay soo li ñoo fay daanaka ëpp na juróom-ñetti junne yi millions yi dalasi gars yi jël tam ñu ne ñoom ñu ne téeméeri millions yi dollars lebal ko ay businessman waaye gis nañ ne weesu na téeméeri million almost ñaari téeméeri million dollar lañ jël lebal ko businessman yooyu noonu boo xaymee loolu mu ngi toll ci fukk ak ñeneenti billions yi dalasi maanaam fukk ak ñeneenti junne yi millions yi dalasi lañ lebaat pour jox ko ay businessman boo boolee loolu ak li ma wax Afreximbank li ñu fa jël li ñoo fay ëpp na ñaar fukki billions yi dalasi maanaam ñaar fukki junne yi millions yi dalasi weesu na ko loolu rek seet ko rek nga boole ko ci yeneen yi xam ne audit report ba nga koo génnee nga boole ci yu mel ni waaye dañ daan dem Sénégal di fa jëndi xànqa di ko indi fii fekk ñu ngi jalgati luwaayu Sénégal parce que ñoom dañ ko tere ñun tam dañ ko tere parce que buñ ko dog suñu àll gi yëpp duñ amati ndox parce que taw gi ci garab ci gàncax bi la jógee soo dogee garab yëpp taw bi dafa wàññeeku xoolal li ñoo daj ren tàngoor bi ñu nekk ci réew mi fii loolu yàq suñ àll yi moo ko tax loolu ñu ooy climate change moo tax loolu Sénégal tere nañ ko ñun tere nañ ko say nañ convention yi mooy CITES convention yooyu yëpp tere nañ ko waaye ba tey ñu ngi continuer def lu bon yooyu noonu li gars yi am ci loolu xam nañ xam-xam boobu noonu dañ ko amee du yoon setut ñu koy nëbba nag soo nguur gi mu am ñu xam ne bàyyi na leen pour ñu jël xam-xam yu di ko def ci containers di ko jaay bitim réew suñ ko jaay bitim réew ñu delloo ci nguur gi tuuti li ci des ñoom ñoo ko moom xaalis boobu li mu ci waroon a am ci nguur gi waroon naa dem ba ñeneenti téeméeri million fu na ñeneenti téeméer ak fanweeri million dalasi lañ ci waroon a am waaye li dugg ci nguur ci ranke si nguur gi dugg ci gafake nguur gi téeméer ak juróom-ñeneenti fukki million moo ci dugg daanaka ñaari téeméer ak ñeneent fukki million kenn xamul fan la jaar Ministry of Environment ak ñi sas pour ñu jaay xam-xam ñoo ñu war a fan la xaalis boobu jaar yii lañ nekkee so boo boolee yooyu yëpp nga boole xam nga gaal yi ñëw di nappa suñu géej bi fi ñu leen a tiyee ñu leen a alamaan xaalis bi doo xam fan la dugga 2021 li ñu waroon a fay ci nguur gi ëpp na ñaar fukki millions yi dalasi feyuñ dara ci gafaka nguur gi fan la xaalis bi jaar xanaa Moussa Dramé moo ñu ko mën a wax yii la ñoo boole booy boole yii yëpp ak li ñoo yàq ci nguur gi ci budget bi ak extra budget soo ko boole yëpp moo toll ci téeméer ak fukki junne yi millions yi dalasi 110 billion téeméer ak fukki billions yi dalasi lañ réeral ci réew mi ci ñetti at parce que non mutu ko parce que budget bi du budget bi rek lay jógee budget bi ëpp na ko waaye du ci budget bi rek lay jógee am na fi yeneen yi moo jógee ñoom xam nañ ko ñun xam nañ ko waaye ñu jéem a réeral doomi réew mi lii lañ nekkee lii lañ dañ ko war a xeex ci réew mi lii la audit office bi di génnee lii jógeew ci ñun audit office yi Gambie moo ko wax te audit office xam nañ liñ mel ci liggéey ñu mun seen liggéey lañ ñoo xam ne seen xam-xam dafa màcc xarañ bu baax ci li ñoo def foofu lañ dem jël seen auditeur général bi dàq ko ci lim leen neexee rek génn jalgati luwaay réew mi parce que luwaay nanguñ ko ñu dàq ko parce que lim génne ci seen yàq xaalis ak seen luubal bi ak sàcc bi ñu génnee ko dem ci office am yónnee ko police ñu jàppa ko génnee ko dàq ko tax na keneen te ko ci place am yi la nguur gi nekkee di def li leen neex ni mu leen neexee dañuy torxal ci réew mi dañu teg bor yoo xam ne dañ ko fay suñ doom yi fay ko suñ seet yi fay ko te ñoom ñu ngi ci seen bànneex am li leen lewut nañ ko jël daf li leen neex doomi Gambie ñoo ciy sonn ñooy fay suñ doom yi fay suñ seet yi fay pour la te dañu dénk nguur gi ne la jàppal ñu rek nguur yi ñu jox la suñ naamu jox la suñ lépp pour nga liggéey ko ci réew mi yow nga jël ko di ko bànneexoo di ci def li la neex xalaatuloo doomi réew mi moo tax nag fi mu nekk Gambie nag coono gi ñu nekk gis nañ ko de kenn du ko wax kenn ñaan nañu ko teg nguuri Adama Barrow ci seen jëfin yu bon yii nii loolu nag lañ war a émale dàqa ko 2026 December 5th déwén weeri décembre juróomeeli fan bi ci la ñoo wote ñëpp xam nañ li gën ci ñun buñ xaañ suñ boppa suñ àq ak suñu yelleef nañ def li war sànni carte génne ci nguur parce que li yàq suñ ko buggee lim boo liñ yàq rek benn fekk déwén ñu ngi fi duñ ko jeexal waaye report yaa ngi génn ba tey rek te ñoom dañ bëggutoon loolu génn pour ñu ci réew doomi réew mi gisu moo tax ñu toog daxa Cissé auditeur général bi ñu ne quoi audit saa ngi ñëw élection saa ngi ñëw soo génnee fi ñoo sonnal moo tax ñu dàq ko waaye yàlla def nag yëpp génn na gis nañ ko te la rek ma doon wax léegi nii sax génn nañ bu 2017 18 ak 19 alhamdulilah lañ dem seeti yooyu itam gën cee mën a waxtaan waaye li ñoo wax rek mooy foo mën a seet ci nguur gi foo mën a seet seen jëfin lu bon rek ngay gis njaaxum rek ngay gis yàq rek ngay gis te ñun fii jaaroon nañ fi de jaaroon nañ fi tamit Yaaya Jammeh coono biñ daj ñu ne métti na léegi ñii duñu teg loo xam ne dafa lu ëpp loolu waaye ñu ne kon ndobin rey say ndey boo gisee lu ñuul nga tiit de te ndobin rey dafa suñ ndey suñ gis li ñuul li jógee ci nguuri Adama Barrow daf ñu war a tiital buñ toog moom ñu yóbbuwaat ñu fi ñu nekkoon onda Yaaya Jammeh te fa la ñu bëgg a yóbbu nag des na ci ñun léegi ñun doomi Gambie nañ ko nangoom déet ñun ñoo fi toogoon ne never again nañ nangu ne never again is never again du xewati te loolu nañ ko mën a teree rek mooy génne fi waa ji ak nguuram gi ñu indi góor gi Darboe loolu rek ñoo mën a sàmm moo tax dañu mën a sàmmee réew mi noonu la ñu mën a aaree réew mi waaye suñu fi bàyyi Adama Barrow nguuram gi li ñoo séentu ci coono ci réew mi kenn du ko nettali kenn te yëpp ci ñun la des ñun ñoo amee carte ñun ñoo ko sànnil carte 2016 mu toog ñu génne Yaaya Jammeh ñun la sase suñu victory 2021 ñu bañ dara tuuru nañ ko bàyyi juróomi at soriwut yàlla dañu dimbali te léegi ñun pare nañ ne 2026 moom sàcca moom du fi amati te gis nañ li xew fii on the 25th samedi bi ba le passé won na ñëpp ne Gambie baa ngi pare pour change parce que fa laay jógee léegi bàyyi audit bi jàll ci loolu wax leen li xew fii samedi bële gisoon nañ Ousseynou Dabo yi egg si jógee bitim réew demoon na tukki dem Amérique am fa ñaari semaine ñëw noppale ko tuuti dem Europe ba mu fa demee dem na Italie jógee Italie dem Finland Helsinki jógee Finland dem Sweden Oslo Stockholm jógee Sweden dem Vienna jógee Vienna dem Paris jógee Paris dem France dem Spain jógee Spain dem England Birmingham juróom-ñetti réew ci Europe la def ci juróom-benni semaine di dajale xaalis pour suñu élection si déwén ak especially te li ci gën a am solo mooy di toog di waxtaan ak kilifa réew yooyu noonu seen naka la ñoo def pour gën a mën a jegeñante gën a mën a xamante nga xam ne buñ toogee ñooñu dañu war a liggéey ñooñu ñëpp buñ xamante ñoom ñu bés buñ toogee duñ door di seet na kan la ñu mën a liggéeyal nag xam nañ li ñu war a liggéeyal ñu bëri sax toog nañ defar nañ ay programme bi tey sax ni ñoo dimbale ci réew mi balaa ñoo egg ak nguur gi sax am na ñoo xam ne pare nañ pour dimbale suñ ndaw yi di leen train am na ñoo xam ne jox nañ ko kaddu ne soo gis egsee rek nga taana ñuy waxtaan ak ñun pour ñu door di liggéey ñu nekkaguñ ci nguur gi sax ñu ngi indi yow ci réew mi waxtuma la bu ñu toogee nekk ci nguur gi yow la Ousseynou Dabo dem defi toog fa juróom-benni semaine jaar ci juróom-ñaari réew in Europe coono boo xam ne parce que boor bu set dafay indu ci meeting ak nit ñi ko seet di waxtaan ak moom boor bu set na liggéey loo xam ne dina tollu presque juróom-ñeneenti waxtu fukk ak juróom-ñeneenti waxtu li mooy nelaw ci bés yu daan passé juróomi waxtu ci bés bi def na ko juróom-benni semaine 6 weeks ak coono jooju yëpp mu ñëpp si keroog bi mu doon ñëpp si mu ngi jógee hôtelam ñeneenti waxtu ci suba dem airport jógee airport bi in England mu London mu fly ñëw Banjul egg si fi ñaari waxtu mu war a génn léegi ñibbi këram ñun ñu oote nag ne suñ future président mu ngi ñëw kaay la ñu teeru ko won ko suñ liñ ko respect liñ ko bëgg liñ bëgg mu jiitee réew mi pour mun a gën a sàmm réew mi buñ ootee nag li génn ci nit alhamdulillah suñ xol sedd na ci boo gisee li génn ci nit jógee ko Brikama ñëw ba airport Yundum jógee Yundum ba Kiram pipeline li génn ci nit yàlla rek a xam te ñu bëri sax joxuñ leen moto parce que amuñ moto bi amuñ xaalis bi ñoom opposition ñu amuñ xaalis am nañ yenn moto yu loué ñenn ñi contribuer ñu loué ay moto ay gele-gele waaye li ci gën a bëri yëpp nit ñoo fay seen xaalis ñëwal seen bopp soo gis nañ li génn ci nit xam nañ mbëggeel bi doomi réew mi am pour Ousseynou Daabo chauffeur bi ñu ko amal liñ ko naw gis nañ ko keroog ci airport bi mu waroon a génne bi mu génne dañu dafa joxe press conference ci airport balaa ñoo continuer waaye ñu fexe ba sonn mënut a génne moto gi sax mënut a joxe press dañu mujjee cancel press conference bi ci non press briefing bi ci airport bi dem defi ko këram suñ xarit yi fii Eco TV ñu ngi fa woon ñoom gisoon nañ lépp am na yeneen TV houses ñu fa nekkoon media houses ñu bëri ñu fa nekkoon coono bi ñu fa daj parce que ñëpp bëgg koo gis ñëpp bëgg koo dégg mënuñ koo def sax bu ko defee mujjee jégalu ci presse bi te leen ñu ngi jégalu ci yéen ngeen ba fii ci tàngoor gi taxaw fii waaye mun ngeen a wax mun leen koo déglu mais ñu leen rek na ngeen ñu may ba ñu egg pipeline loolu lañ mujjee def parce que noonu la Ousseynou Daabo toll ci doomi réew mi noonu la ko gars yi buggee noonu lañ ko nawee soo lañ def nag dem bi ci këram génn yuy yundu mbori ñetti waxtu ci suba ci afternoon bi ci bëccëg after tisbaar balaa ñoo egg pipeline fekk juróom-ñeneenti waxtu passé na almost fukki waxtu ci guddi lañ egg pipeline waaw góor goo xam ne mu ngi tukki jógee këram jógee hôtelam foo ci suba ñeneenti waxtu ci suba mais fukki waxtu ci guddi mu ngi tukki taxaw juróom-ñetti waxtu ba fukki waxtu ci guddi mu ngi taxaw daanaka juróom-ñaari waxtu mu ngi taxaw ci moto di nuyu nit ñi ba egg këram taxawaat foofu tam wax lu mu fanweeri minute muy wax ak doomi réew mi kenn gisul ci moom coono kenn gisul ci moom mer o dafa su mu nekk daal affaire yu doy na mu ngi smile rek di waxtaan ak nit ñi di leen wax lim def foofu noonu ak lim dig réew mi ak bu toogee lan la ñoo def pour génnee fi dàq fi njublan bi dàq fi luubal bi xaalisi réew mi dàq fi jalgati lu waay réew mi naka la ñoo def pour doomi réew mi ku nekk amun a am sa wàll wax na loolu yëpp te war na leen xam nañ ne li nguur gi nar pour élection si ñëw nii ndëgg si réew ñu teg lalal ci réew mi xam nañ ko wax nañu ko nguur daf ñu lalal ay ndëgg si réew pour mun a yàqal élection si sàcc ko waaye wax nañ ñëpp ne loolu du fi amati parce que ñun daal toog nañ seet affaire yëpp porox ndool yi yëpp lañ fatt ñoom duñu am feneen fu ñoo mën a poroxlu pour génn fatt nañ yëpp porox ndool yëpp fatt nañ ko so that means ne déwén ñu leen a ñaan dem leen sànni seen carte te mu óor leen ne kenn du sàcc seen victory parce que pare nañ pour ñii foog te ñoo fee génne nguur gu bon bi teg fi nguuri UDP ñu mën a liggéey réew mi ñëpp ñu fi am seen àq ak seen yelleef loolu la war ci réew mi loolu la ñëpp war a am te ñu ngi leen koo dig dem leen sànni carte boo leen sànni carte li ci des bàyyi leen ñu ko dinañ def li ci war waxtu baa ñu bëgg a jàmbu ñu bàyyi ko fii léegi nii di leen ne jaari yéen jëf ñu ngi séntuwaat incha allah jox leen dig daje next week pour ñu waxtaan ci lii jërë yéen jëf yan la leen yàlla si sàmm yokk leen xéewal yokk leen sutura fan bu gudd ak wér gu yaram mbaɗi magdi kowlu mbafalaade ɗo man ndin dron min keta e airport to jang sibiti tambila lumina ko senda ko sitena ka wonan ala tubabu tu tamola ay tubabu du banque woro wolale ma loku woro ni yakono bira bota jang tata italy le folo milano abota Italy tata Helsinki Finland abota Helsinki tata Stockholm Sweden abota Stockholm tata Vienna in Austria abota Vienna tata Paris France abota Paris tata Barcelona in Spain abota Spain tata Birmingham in the United Kingdom anyim banku woro leke loku woro la niyato ni loku woro wulo kono lumma soto mi yalan ka ni molu man na jube wal ni wal molu meeting soto atata je gambe don bijani gambe don la kabbe luwolum e fundraising ol kaje pour ka ko dol préparer ko dol bajo ñokam pour jari électionnol kadu ngalon ko élection bi daka ku yaal sa ko nyima sakunda e kuru yamenke ber tala pour ka électionnol sam ko fana nga fintino nga do ko ke pour banko e nga kumaka ay wodo ko yani wo ani wo na diaspora ko alhamdulillah be tentu lambe jeyle do ko betoto yo do ko bakje ka ko do be bajo ñokam atata fana ni banko alfalu be jama bali bente cité kacata ka jube nin mutan nitul fere ban sakuna wata ni do ko kano la ñaadi la pour ka ñim banko ma koy katu ñul be molti mi ko nin cita wata min na man sakunda 26 o ali 2027 ni lu do ko kelale so ga ñolo mbirin say nga kacaaju birin say ñanta min keno si min keno ñola wop ma yata bakel useni yo le fananka kanto mo wole mon UDP di nka ñaato le si man sakunda mo wole di ka ñaato siile yep ferol la pour ni sita wata min kela so nga wole fananke useni yo wolle ke ahubata beta anata afata ja lugo min na katu nga mol ko ni ko alna na president mo bende ni kala banko president di jare alna na liya bendu ala la foyta dara na la kanu hadaba dum findita mutol mayi la wala ma sha Allah molu findita fam fam ki jo farata dul gafni ko rimbe mo hadaba den keso hadaba de wala gambe de ton lamu ñintite o lunga airport to bi nga findita nan kirimba so kumata wow anyanta lolu je ka anim pression di amu je so man airport yanu findita airport barama hana jino mo to kono nga feri ñam maji jino mo to kono laba on pression ko minata je ko aliyam fanye Allah sanu na laka tajando man yeni mita pipeline bara ko ñami den ta jindi no la jam aliyam fanye na tawol dani yam fola alina alfa ka fo minata je ma fanani dani yam fatanye ntata ndata pipeline war birmita pipeline fanan silo kan hadama de wonji silo kan kabo airport fuka dum pipeline kono bota airport talan saba ma fan mon futa pipeline fo talantan suto birin salfana bota airport mon futa pipeline fo safu sali kola talantan suto hadama de won finta wolon ala da mala yalo o be ka tan usen la ngi kanu nyami la seyami banko tam banko nyaade yi banko tilon de sila beto kan moli yewala je moli yewala itandala wole gambe de wolu sewa so gambe de wolu yalo ne ko usen la sim banko kanadino ani ado ku nyolo not only UDP da ma bari yim parti do limi la lañu kan pour nga yim man sakunda falin ntul la sim banko lo no sila beto kan moli yewala je nata finti ko sande usenu la moli be neta mun ko dum dol tamate singol la kanana fu tar fu dibital ngi lo ta dami dol birin talantan so man dabi je fu talantan suto ko be don pour watu ku sutun ding second temps wala minute kile usen jurana ya bulo me ina nyo konto yetambe o jarte ka lo je o nyama ka ti lo ti nyanje wole mun yitandi molla wala gambe do nyin keba kanule nyin alpha kanule ya lon ko nyin sita ay banko falinnale alo sila beto kan o yentul sewo baake so janembe ko mo kum fala dombe men fala to wolen ka kibar talalo journalistol bil nata je ke be tentu ke jayi muftara police wala baranga folo kibar talalo folo kato wolle kat na mol kan na kolije ina taje e tilota e batata biri wo somanda fo suto be je ma fala ala baraka ali banku din kende ali do ko min ke nga jele ma fala ala baraka wol tanto ni jey ko la remen fo police mais police fanan tentula ina taje e do ko betake je do ko men ko yilla wala na police kam mo be kanyande kam mo be tanka ina taje wala ke je ma fala parti je la mole ala baraka nga yilla ni ne la albul anin touré ala baraka ala la do ko le ke de bari sa fa ala baraka e ko do kula baraka be kala batabu bari aka ju so sewole suma fana ala baraka le banku di ya ki tandi mola nyanta kala nyame police wol ne banku dun nyanta tarla ñoy tenne man ki ñoo jawti man na kele la man na ñoo torala so lew tandi na nata yalla do ko ka nyama ma fala ala baraka ngi la ñu na police wol bul ngam to katu wala fala on na police wol link kebela mu tan ko non tan lulo be mo betole te Gambia di betole banku di betole yenna luwalu kan ye molu bunya ye molu xoroma ala woni tandi ñi sibiti lo ala baraka police wol ko la fana na UDP security ja son kantena la molu ma fala ala baraka ol fana le batamin tawolu ye koleya min ta tiloni min doni konko katu ngala wolu fati ko nako lu batata je baake
Producer is on my case.
so wol na taje ma fala ala baraka baake ya min kay abeta ala baraka baake te mo be tay no bare fo nga wolu jayi ani na youth wing haji suwane na la molu Binzi ñolu Boubacar Kanté ñolu Soumaïla Fadera ñolu Boubacar Sidiki Jammeh yolu ta be fono al hekatu mamil to fono si bo janke ñolu al yakata baake al yen kan janga yandi al yen kontanandi ale banko kan janga yandi ale pati dida kan janga yandi ale banko be sewo la baraka so bi dan si wala fono ali wato en jam fa tabita wato fono ya ko nal baral hekatu wo fanana katum fo ngani fanam fo mo la baraka baake
Okay. I think that's it. We thank the crew again, the Eco TV crew. We have a very young technician here also.
Yes.
Who can barely walk, but is always in the studio.
That's the baby technical staff for next generation.
Next
yes.
generation, yes.
So cabin crew, of TV crew, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually rewarding to see that kind of
family esprit, you know.
Family ties being shown in the studio and in the premises and stuff.
But Larry, if you just bear with me for 30 seconds, I did not praise the security force and dressing Wolof. I just wanted to do that quickly, just for 30 seconds, 1 minute. Fate won na pour gërëm security forces ñuy jàppale bi si samedi bi seen ñëwee te mënuñoo conclure te gërëm moo leen sant leen liggéey gi ñu def liggéey ju rafet liggéey joo xam ne lu lañ séntu woon ci suñu security forces yi leen ngàcce gaalaama jërëjëf jëf li lañ séntu woon ci yéen te bettuñu nag waaye bég nañ ci soo foog ñu rafetlu ko ci kanam yi ñëpp ne leen li ngeen def lu lañ séntu woon ci yéen Paate Diallo ak sa gaay yi Touré ak seen gaay yi ñu ngi leen a gërëm nañ continuer liggéeyee nii lii lañ soxla ci réew mi parce que ñun duñ nooni police yi duñ nooni security forces yi ñoo bokk réew mi ñoo koy liggéey together nañ bokk liggéey loolu ngeen def li war moo ñu gënal ñun ñëpp seetal li mu demee rek nit ñi di fa nekk ñu gisoon keroog weesu na jéggi na dayoo waaye dara xewut seen liggéey ju rafet ji ak liggéey suñu security forces UDP ngeen liggéey together jàppalante liggéey gu rafet dara xewut yëpp dem ni mu waree demee ñu ngi leen cee gërëm di leen sant di ci gërëm di sant presse bi tam ñu ñëw jàppale ñu ñoo tax ñu gis image si fi xewoon yëpp ñoom ñoo ko wonee ñoom ñoo wonee lépp ñu ngi leen a gërëm ñu di xaw si yëpp ñu ngi leen a gërëm di leen sant so bu ma nag fi jeexal te xuma loolu gërëwuma ñii plus of course suñu youth wing bi ñi ci bokkoon ñëpp xaaji suwaanee gaayam yi ñu ngi leen a gërëm yéen ñëpp jërëjëf fàtte woon naa gërëm ñu te bu nu maa fa jekkale fi gërëwuma leen maa ngi leen di gërëm di leen sant bu baax a baax jërëjëf laare baal maaxa
Good.
ok
Alhamdulillah. Badin la moy lalu. Programo be dan na janne bi fo arami sakoten ni ngale niosiam. Our viewers from around the world in the country, we thank you for your time, for allowing us to be beamed into your homes. We truly appreciate that. And we'll see you next week, Thursday, inshallah.
yes
Thank you.
Thank you.